Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastvandhakaro Vai Rukarastanivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Bhidhiyate Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We saw that any word, any terminology set to describe either Atma, Atma means what? From the standpoint of the individual, or Brahman, from the standpoint of the collective, all of them have to somehow, at some point, be given up. Just like if you are on the road and then you want to go to maybe a remote temple somewhere on the a difficult hike, and let's say there are 2-3 paths and you don't know which path to take, then you come across a signboard. Sometimes they have a hand like this with a finger. Temple this way. And then what do? You go that way. That is the idea. So every terminology, every word, starting with Atma, starting with Brahman, Chit, Samvit, so many words we have. Sakshi. Yesterday we deconstructed this whole Sakshita, Sakshi. Sakshi. What else? What other words do we have? ABP, Asti Bhati Priyam. Then, what else do we have? Satta Spurana Saukhyam, Sukham Saukhyam. Sat Chit Ananda, Satyam Jnanam Anantam. It's almost like you pass a hat and all the names you collect back because they are just a signpost to show the way. They must not be mistaken for the goal. They must not be mistaken for the way. And this is very tempting to do because Brahman is not an object. And being not an object, it is so difficult to hold, it is so difficult to catch a hold of. And then it cannot be objectified. How do I understand it? How do I go forward? How do I do this? I don't know. What to do? I don't know. How to go forward? I don't know. So better to hold on to these. This is the human tendency. The human tendency is to hold on all the time to whatever is offered. Because that is how it is. One is born clinging and continues to cling. In fact, the clinging person is born. Clinging to desires, one is born. Clinging to raga dveshas, one is born. And therefore, this needs to be this needs to be revolutionized when the words that are helpful in gaining the understanding are to then be thrown out. When? After the understanding is gained, naturally. It's just like when I see a arrow on the road, this way, temple, let's say I'm in a rural area, lost, and I see this. So the idea is you follow what it says. Those are indicators, indication. But then, what do we like to do? What we like to do is to break off the signpost and keep it close to us. And if you break off the signpost and keep it close to you, will you get to the temple? Not only you, other people also will not get there. Because you are holding on to that which doesn't need to be held on. That's why the Atma cannot be described. Brahman cannot be described through these concepts. Then don't ask me, why have you been talking for the last 1 week? If it cannot be described, you should have kept quiet and let us do whatever we wanted. Here you go on talking 3 times a day, and then you tell us it cannot be described. You should have saved your breath. Cannot be described as an object. Cannot be described as an object. Why? It is the self-shining subject which needs no description. And because it does not need description and it is self-shining, the ignorance of this cannot be brooked, because since it is self-shining, I have partial knowledge of the I. What is the partial knowledge? Aham asmi, I am. What is the next question? Who are you? What are you? Don't ask. How much time you got? I will say. And I will have a lot of problems. And those problems have become myself. Identification with those problems. So the words describing the Atma are temporary signposts. That's why they are indirect words. Lakshana. Not Visheshana. They are not adjectival to Atma. What are they? Indirect words. Words that, just like the signpost, they point to the Atma. And unlike a temple, let's say the signpost is pointing to a remote temple which I have never visited, unlike that, I don't have to search for it, because it is pointing to that which is already evident as I. So what does the Shastra do? The Shastra says that this is what this is like a working definition of the I until you understand. And in the Panchadashi, the 10th chapter of the Panchadashi, it recommends, please throw away all the Upanishads. Please throw away also the Bhagavad Gita. Throw away the Upanishads, throw away the Bhagavad Gita. Why keep the Brahma Sutra? Throw that away as well. And then just enjoy the knowledge. To that, whenever we encounter that verse in the Upanishad, what do I say? In the Panchadashi, I tell people we are not at that stage yet. Good to remember. When we get to that stage, let us see. Let us pray to get to the stage where we can throw off the Shastra, because you are the Shastra. You are the walking, talking embodiment of the Shastra. Shastra becomes you, pun intended. And so if the Shastra becomes you, then you don't need the Shastra. That is when you throw off the Shastras, and it is very healthy to look at it like this. Otherwise it creates another dependency. Already so many dependencies. So then we are asked to remove the crutch, remove the crutch, remove the crutch, and then catch hold of the Shastra. That doesn't make any sense. And so, since we are not ready to throw away the Shastra, let us look at the next verse. Next means next in terms of understanding. Next doesn't mean the one that we were studying. So we have seen Satta, Spurana and Sukha. This we have seen as the indicators of Brahman. And then let us look at 62. Na jiva brahmano bhedah satta rupena vidyate satta bhedena manam syat न जीव ब्रह्मणो भेदः स्फूर्तिरूपेण विद्यते स्फूर्तिभेदेन मानं स्यात् न जीव ब्रह्मणो भेदः प्रियरूपेण विद्यते प्रियभेदेन मानं स्यात् इति वेदान्तडिण्डिमः न जीव ब्रह्मणो भेदः नाम्ना रूपेण विद्यते नाम्नो रूपस्य मिथ्यात्वात् न जीव ब्रह्मणो भेदः पिण्ड ब्रह्माण्ड भेदतः व्यष्टे समष्टेरेकत्वात् So we have seen Satta, Spurti, and then what's the other one? Saukhya, or Sat Chit Ananda, or Astibhati Priyam. All this as defining words of Brahman Atma. They are all defining Brahman. Defining, and then these are indicatory words. We have seen that. Then the question may come, what on earth is, what is the Jiva? Brahman's definition I understand. Brahman is the source of existence and it is all knowledge, source of existence, all knowledge. And then finally what? Of the nature of unbridled ananda, joy. This I understand. What about me? And then maybe the feeling is there is, the satta, the existence that is talked about in relation to Brahman, Ishvara, is different than my existence. Naturally that feeling will come. Why? Look at me. Time-bound existence, space-bound existence, object-bound existence. Deshakala vastutaha, separation is there. Vastutaha means if I am in one body, I cannot be in another body at the same time. Time-wise, I am alive in this time, in this space. And then space-wise, the same thing. I am here in Saylorsburg. I can't be elsewhere. This is what it is. So, the satta, from the standpoint of satta, there is a difference. Because what about Brahman? He is everywhere, he is all things at all times. What about the jiva? Jiva, specific body, specific mind, specific senses, specific time, space, and bound by the, so to speak, by the upadhi. This looks like a very big difference. But here it is pointed out, the jiva brahmanoho bhedaha. The difference between jiva and Ishvara is not from the standpoint of satta. It's not that Ishvara is the source and I'm not even a resource. I'm just a tiny little thing somehow. Ishvara is the cause, I am just because. Ishvara is all, I am small. Ishvara is God. What am I? Odd. Yeah, G silent. And this is the feeling. But here, in the next verses we have selected for looking deeply into, the very radical question is asked, what is the source of proof for you to make this differentiation? To make this assertion that from the standpoint of this satta, sat, existence, that your existence as a jiva is separate from the existence of that which we call Ishvara. No, I feel it. Sorry, feeling is not a means of knowledge. Well, I'm having another feeling. What is the feeling? I'm feeling that feelings are a means of knowledge. Okay. I don't have to elaborate on that. You try going in some, you try writing a scientific paper based on feelings. Nowhere it will be accepted. So here, what is the proof? What is the means of knowledge? I'm intuiting it. That intuition is also not a means of knowledge. Intuition is a knowing that has already happened, which you are not aware of, using proper means of knowledge, proper instruments of knowledge. Suddenly it shines in the brain because you just had some caffeine. So suddenly you understood that. After a cup of chai, you understood that, and then you said, oh, it has come from my own head. It hasn't come from your own head. It's something that you already knew through the proper means of knowledge, which now it has done some, what is that? It has appeared like a flash of insight. And so therefore, intuition, I think, I feel separate from Ishvara. That feeling is what is to be abandoned. That feeling is not to be believed in because it goes against the reality established by Shastra Pramana. Shastra is the only Pramana for oneness, to establish the oneness between Jiva and Ishvara. And then there is no other means of knowledge that is going to show you that you are separate. No, but look, if we look at Ishvara and if we look at Jiva, then so many differences are there. Ishvara, all pervasive. How do you know Ishvara is all pervasive? Did you see Ishvara pervade here and there? No. Ishvara's existence is sacred. Mine is just an ordinary, unsacred existence. How do you know? What is the proof? You will find that there is no proof. In fact, we can go over all the means of knowledge that we have at our hand and then go over it one by one and see that there is no proof to establish difference between Jiva and Ishvara on the basis of Satta existence. First is Pratyaksha. Can you see Ishvara? No. So, therefore, what kind of existence Ishvara has cannot be established by Pratyaksha, which means the sense organs, direct perception. You cannot establish that. So, that is gone, crossed out. Then what? Anumana, inference. What is this inference? Ishvara has a different existence than I. So what is the basis for this inference? Because the inference is in itself flawed, whether we are talking of Anumana, one-step inference, Arthapatti, multi-step inference, both of them are vitiated. They are all wrong. Why? Because we are talking about the nature of the inferer. Inference cannot make conclusions about the nature of the inferer. There is a kartra karma virodha. There is a cause, what is that? Cause effect, or the contradiction between the one who is the researcher and the object of the research. Naturally, it is not proper. So that knocks off two means of knowledge in one go. What are knocked off? One-step inference, multi-step inference, gone. Then what is left? Upama. Not breakfast, okay? Yeah. So, Upama means comparison. How are you going to use Upama to establish different existences? How are you going to use that? Not even possible. How many Ishvaras are there? Then how are you going to make this? For comparison, you should have at least two entities. No, I am taking Jiva and Ishvara, and those are the two entities. So, based on these two entities, I am going to compare their existence. This is again flawed. Why? Because the law which governs means of knowledge says one very important thing, that if you establish something with one means of knowledge, it should not be contradicted by any other means of knowledge. So if I, quote unquote, establish separate existence for myself and Ishvara, then it will be contradicted by the means of knowledge called Shastra Pramana, which denies this unequivocally. Same thing. Then do we need to go over that cognition of absence? No, because it will be just more of the same. Cognition of absence while analyzing presence. Very nice. Yeah. We have to give ourselves an award. How are we going to use Anupalabdhi Pramana, the cognition of absence, to establish presence? This is a outright contradiction. None of these pramanas will work. And what does the Shastra say? Shastra says there is just one existence. Same existence. Therefore what? There is just one entity, not two. When you go to somebody's house for tea, and they say, how many people? You don't say two after counting your shadow as well. There are two of us here. And the person is perplexed. Where is the other one? On the floor. The host will be floored by this argument. So, there is only one existence. Asti, that's what. And the same existence is there. This is not something that can be proved by other pramanas which I have in my hand. That's the whole point of coming here to study the Shastra, is to let go of other pramanas in interfering with this knowledge. The other means of knowledge are very well set up to make the person fit for transaction vyavahara. You want to go get a bite to eat, all pramanas are active, especially the olfactory nerves, very active. Okay, what smells good, what is nice, wonderful. You want to go do something, then anumana, inference, all this is important. You want to know the truth of yourself, none of these pramanas are going to work. Don't throw away the Shastra yet, throw away the pramanas. It's going to just interfere. And the interference of the means of knowledge that you operate versus the Shastra which operates upon you is, it causes havoc. It's like a person being awake during surgery. Let's say they found a way to control the pain. It's a pain in the neck of the doctor actually, because the person will interfere. The person will say, are you cutting in the right place? How do you know the tumor is there? Did you leave anything behind? Check again. Yeah, some gauze, a small piece of string, or some, scissors. Check again. Doesn't feel right. How many people have you killed? Surgeon will run away. The anesthesia, the general anesthesia, benefits the surgeon also. Yeah. This fellow has to be put out, literally. That's what it is. You have to suck. You have to. And in fact, the patient welcomes the anesthesia because there is no other option. If there were an option, they would have not done that. I think the only exception is some kind of brain surgery. They drill and they keep you awake because they want to make sure that they are not that you can still tell the alphabet, sing a few tunes, and all the areas of the brain are intact. But generally speaking, the anesthesia is a welcome boon for the person who goes under and also for the surgeon, because otherwise it becomes very difficult to operate. If the patient is all the time interfering in the surgery. In other words, the patient becomes impatient. Then the surgery cannot progress at all. And so we have to understand that this requires a certain anesthesia. What is referred to, what is a stand-in for anesthesia in the example of surgery, here also asserts anesthesia is Shraddha. Shraddha is the anesthesia. Belief pending, trust pending, understanding. Just like the patient trusts, okay, I'm going to be given anesthesia and I trust I will come back. No way of knowing. In fact, you're made to sign on the dotted line. Most people come back, but in case you don't, give us your autograph on the way. So you sign. I will not sue, relatives will not sue, all these things. You absolve the hospital and the establishment. And so the anesthesia is Shraddha. Just what does anesthesia do? It relieves the pain while the surgery is going on. Number one. Number two, it is dependent upon your trust. You trust the hospital, you trust the surgeon enough to go under. You welcome the anesthesia and you trust that when you wake up, whatever doesn't belong, i.e. tumor, etc., has been excised, removed. And you are in the recovery room. Here also the same trust has to be accorded to the Shastra and to the teacher. Shraddha is anesthesia. Only difference, in the hospital, the doctor administers. the anesthesia. Here, you administer Shraddha for yourself. The countdown can begin now. 10, 9, 8. When you come to 1, full Shraddha. You can do this before every class. You can say, okay, count down. As you walk, you can say, all right, I'm letting go, I'm letting go, I'm letting go of any kind of resistance. May the blocks go to sleep. Blocks and blockheads, may they all go to sleep. May the resistance disappear. The countdown is beginning. And so, when that countdown happens, when, most of the time, what happens in the hospital situation, they ask you to count down. 7, finished. The person is gone by 6 or 7. But sometimes, while the Shraddha, sometimes you have to do the countdown 3-4 times. And then the trust comes. You invite the trust. You suspend the distrust. Don't wait for all the distrust to go. And then I will plunge into Vedanta. It will be like the man who was standing in front of the ocean and who said, why are you standing here? Why don't you go take a swim? Yes, I'm waiting for all the waves to subside. Then I will take a dip in the ocean. So if you wait for Shraddha to come, what will happen? Vedanta will go. That's all. Vedanta will come and go. As the Shraddha is being cultivated, I expose myself to this teaching in a committed way. As the trust is developing. And then I learn the art of tying everything into a bundle and keeping it aside. Distrust will come. Oh, whatever this verse is saying doesn't mean, is not true. And yesterday we learned the art of putting a full stop. Put a full stop. Cauterize that thought. Put it on the side. Let it not bleed into the rest of the class. Suspend it. Afterwards you can go and see what it is and how and work with it. But the art of putting aside the resistances, the thoughts, and which are coming in the way of gaining this knowledge, this is what is called Shraddha. And this is a means of knowledge, not Shraddha, but the Shastra is a means of knowledge. So the Shraddha is directed at the Shastra, at the Pramana. The Pramana called Shabda, words. Words which indicate the truth of the I. And having done that, they just commit suicide. They are no longer useful for me. They are again useful for other people. And so what does the Shastra say? The Shastra says there is only one existence. When I say I exist, then what is that? It is the same existence that is shared by all the beings in this universe. If an earthworm could talk, it would also squeak, I exist, I exist, I am, I am, I am. There is only one isness. There is no other local proof for this isness. And that part of the head, the buddhi, which is demanding proof, must be made to go poof for now. Yes, it must be put on one side. It cannot be kept on being entertained. So there is only one source of existence. All beings exist. That is just one existence. And the same existence is non-separate from that of Ishvara. Satchidanandam Brahma, Jagat Karanam Brahma. Why is it the same? The Shastra itself will give a certain logic to imbibe this or to understand this and let this teaching go a little deeper. What is the reasoning Shastra gives? The karya, effect, is non-separate from karana, the cause. Effect is nothing but the cause. So the karya being non-separate from the karana, when we are talking about jagat karana, the truth of the universe, the same existence inheres in the effect. The cause inheres the effect. Just like clay inheres pot. So the definition of the cause cannot be separate from the definition of the effect, because effect is non-separate from the cause, just like pot is non-separate from clay. This is from the standpoint of satta. Next verse says, what does it say? Na jiva brahmano bhedaha. There is no difference between jiva and Ishvara from the standpoint of spurti, spuranam, knowledge. From the standpoint of knowledge, there is no difference at all. What is knowledge? I don't remember. This is jiva's contention. I forgot. What is knowledge? What is chit? What is all that? I forgot. And what is Ishvara? All-knowing. Yesterday I said omniscient. Who am I? Don't know the spelling of omniscient. That is me. How to spell omniscient itself is a struggle. And so, what is this? All-knowing is the same as not knowing or small knowing. This I cannot accept. Why can't you accept? Because I need somebody to look up to. And if Ishvara is the same as me, then who will I pray to? Somebody asked this in a satsang once. Who will I pray to? Who will I look up to? That's why I do not want to be the sugar. What do I want to do? Taste the sugar. Keep on tasting. All this time you have been tasting. Where has that got you? That is what to ask. I don't want to be the sugar. I want to taste the sugar. Who is saying? The sugar. If the chili pepper was saying that, at least okay, that argument can be entertained. If the salt was saying that, we can entertain the argument. But what is saying, I don't want to be the sugar? The sugar. The sugar crystal is saying, do not make me the sugar. Give me the ability to keep tasting the sweetness of the sugar. There's only one problem. What? You already are sugar. You're already sugar. In fact, everything about you is fully sweet. Top of you is sweet, middle of you is sweet, and bottom of you is sweet. And if you, whatever you associate with, you make that also, you fill it with your own sweetness. You go and swim and dissolve in that kheer, pudding. You make it sweet. You dissolve in a glass of water, you make it sweet. So you are sweetness itself. And this is the problem. There is a, especially where chit is concerned, sat somehow we can accept. Okay, all right, we share the same existence, all right. But this on the chit level, there can be lot of blocks. The main block is, I want there to be an entity that is different from me. Why? Because I am like this. And what should the entity be like? Like this. So I need protection. I need help. I need to be saved. This savior psychology is very, very rampant. And as we know, that becomes the basis of many established religions. So, this helplessness, because all not from the standpoint of existence, but from the standpoint of how little I know I know so little, I can't even lead my life, I can't save myself, I am helpless. All this is sensed at the level of chit, consciousness, awareness. And the awareness identifies with a particular body-mind-sense complex and does not like what it sees. And instead of correcting the awareness, instead of correcting that, the awareness which is identified with the ahankara. So the ahankara, which now becomes the hero of this story. Sad hero, it's a tragedy, okay? You are duly warned. So this ahankara cries for help and wants there some entity. Some entity should be there to help me. Because the ahankara, which is identified with all the smallness and the small knowledge and all this misinformation, wants to seek help constantly and is afraid of being alone, afraid of not there being anybody to save, and afraid that it will be just left in the lurch. And for that, what do we say? We say that on the level of the vyavaharika satta, on the level of the everyday, yes, their prayer is valid. Bhakti, valid. Conjuring up Ishvara in any name, any form, taking help for that insecurity is valid. What is not valid is therefore coming to the conclusion, I am permanently insecure. This is the conclusion. Because if I set up a series of gods in order to help me, save me, this one with 12 weapons, oh good, fantastic. This one can settle all my accounts which I have. I can just point and say, that one dissed me, this one did this to me, go take care of all of them. And this is the feeling. I can send out all these people. I have a place to put my head in surrender, not surrender of desires, surrender of my own helplessness, so that I can ask for help and demand that I be given help. This is available. This is valid. But it is a stage in one's development, says the Dindima. It is but a stage in the development. It is not the ultimate conclusion, but a stage. Enjoy the stage. And there is some bhakti is very enjoyable. First, you have somebody to talk to and you have somebody to complain. Okay, are you happy now? You have given me karma phala. Are you happy? Are you happy with what you've done? Yeah, gloat. Come on, you keep smiling. I know. I see a sarcasm in the smile. You can tell. You can tell. And there is a strange satisfaction. After telling that, one is revealed. That's why Bhagavan is a therapist, really. Yeah. Free therapy. And you don't have to make an appointment. And a 1 hour session is not just 50 minutes. Yes, you can have the whole hour. And hour after hour you can have. Free therapy, wonderful. You can say, are you happy now? You did all this to me and then you couldn't find anybody else. So many people, 8 billion people in the world, and you have to just look at me. Shame on you. You can tell. This is good. It's a stage. It's an important stage. And as I said in the satsang last night, it is a stage that can last a long time. No problem. But if we mistake that to be the end, then what happens? As far as Vedanta is concerned, it is the end. Really. There is a place to go. There is a vantage point. Because even though bhakti is very satisfying, it leaves one sad. It leaves one ultimately sad, incomplete. Because then Bhagavan comes and goes in my awareness, because Bhagavan is a separate entity. Think of this. Bhagavan comes and goes in my awareness because Bhagavan is a separate entity. But what if Bhagavan is awareness itself? Then awareness is always with me, and therefore Bhagavan is always with me. It's not that Bhagavan is given up. Bhagavan is understood as that very awareness, which is I am, that amness, satta. And how do you know you are? Because it is evident to me. The self-evident consciousness is a Bhagavan that will never, ever, ever, ever go away. It cuts through the notion, the wrong notion, that Bhagavan is away from me. And this is what is the manifestation of Ananya Bhakti. Non-separate Bhakti, Advaita Bhakti, Jnani Bhakti. That awareness itself is Bhagavan. I am in the flow of awareness, Chit. And I am this flowing Chit. The flowing Chit is Ishvara. I am non-separate from this flowing Chit. And like the river that flows, like we see the river from our standpoint, but let's imagine being the river for now. If we visualize ourselves as the river, if you visualize yourself as the river, think of all the things you encounter. Oh, here is a boulder, let me do Abhisheka. It just does that. Here is a big hole, let me fill it up, says the river. Fills up that. Oh, here is some parched, dry land. Let's make it green and make all the people on this bank happy. Oh, that bank people are left out. Let's go there and pay them a visit. And then it just flows. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. That is how the flow is. And when I am in non-separate, when I recognize myself as non-separate from that Chit, from that awareness, which is sacred, which is holy, which is the manifestation of Bhagavan in me, as me, where is the alienation? And how can you top this? Compare this to trying to patch up the insecurity by sitting in front of Bhagavan with a begging bowl. Fill this up just now, fill it up, hungry. This is the one. As opposed to that, contrast that with this one is already filled with the presence which is Bhagavan, never leaving. The other Bhagavan in front of whom I sit as a separate entity comes and goes as an object in my awareness, a holy object no doubt, but nonetheless a separate object in my awareness, an object who is huge, an object which is big, an object endowed with a lot of power, to which I have granted the ability to make me secure. Why? Because I have come to the conclusion, an erroneous conclusion, mind you, I am insecure. I is equal to insecurity. You see, based on this conclusion alone, wrong things are pursued. So if I have concluded I am insecure, then there is a frantic attempt to make myself secure. That's how I find myself in dead-end pursuits. And what am I? Deadened by dead-end pursuits. Dead-end pursuits, and everywhere I go, I encounter the sign, you can't go any further. Detour. I have to turn back. Then another little alley I explore. Detour. Dead end. Turn back. Another cul-de-sac, detour, turn back. Yet one more small little road. I find that my wheels get stuck there. Can't even turn back. With great difficulty, I have to turn back. So Bhagavan in my awareness versus Bhagavan is my awareness. This is the point of transition from the first two kinds of bhaktas that we have seen. What are they? Mr. 911, Mrs. 911, Artha Bhakta, and the second one is the one who is pragmatic and makes a partnership with Bhagavan. You be with me and I'll keep you well endowed. I'll donate to the temple on a regular basis, but you should keep on fulfilling whatever I want. Bhagavan laughs. So, but still, this is better than nothing. This is really, really good because one is on the right track. And then we come to the other two, for whom Bhagavan is not a means to an end. For the first two bhaktas, Dvaita bhaktas, Bhagavan is a means to an end. Just like the cow is a means to get milk. So therefore, one milks Bhagavan of the grace. Give me this, give me that. And milk comes in the form of punya. And that's why one gets addicted to this kind of bhakti, because the punya comes as a result of action, and action being the prayer gives adrishta, invisible results of action that fructify. One becomes a punyaholic, addicted to punya. In the first two kinds of bhakti, this is the danger, that Dvaita becomes the order of the day and it keeps one spinning in the wheels of helplessness and notions of insecurity. What happens in the other two? For the third one, who is the third one? Jignasu. Jignasu means the person who is wanting to know who is Bhagavan. Who am I? Who is Bhagavan? The one who is wanting to know. There's a quantum leap from the first two to the third one. Big quantum leap. Sometimes it takes 2-3 janmas to come from there to here, with a lot of grace operating over time. So, for the Jignasu, Bhagavan is not a means to various ends to be accomplished. What is Bhagavan? The end to be accomplished. Bhagavan is the end. And that, what is Jignasu's favorite form of worship? Attending Vedanta classes. That is the worship. Because what are Vedanta classes about? Unfolding the nature of Bhagavan as the truth of oneself. Not a single Vedanta class goes by without mention of Ishvara. And the Jiva being nothing other than Ishvara. So the Jignasu's favorite form of worship is not with bells, whistles, flowers and all this. All that they are not opposed to. But the Jignasu's favorite form of worship is what? Shastra, study. Shastra, study. Shastra becomes the pursuit. Shastra becomes the Bhagavan which unfolds itself through the teaching, through the teacher. So, this is the Jignasu. For the Jnani, Bhagavan is neither a means to be accomplished, neither a means for other ends to be accomplished, nor the end. Bhagavan is neither a means nor the end. What is Bhagavan? I am one with that which is in the form of my own awareness. Here is where the oneness is established at the level of awareness. Chit, consciousness. Because satta, how can you establish awareness? Chit alone there is an awareness. That's why whenever the word Satchidananda, Astibhati Priyam, Sattas Purana Saukhyam, or what else? Satyam Jnanam Anantam, these words are said. These words themselves are a Mahavakya, a sentence that unfolds the oneness between Jiva and Ishvara. Never am I away from Ishvara. And in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there is a very nice 9th chapter. And the end of the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there is a very nice verse. Arjuna is told, Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru. Manmana bhava, be the one for whom there is nothing other than Bhagavan in the mind. This doesn't mean think of God. How will you think of God? First thought, God. Second thought, God. This person is a great bhakta. Third thought, God. Fourth thought, God. Oh, this person is doing very well. Has a sajatiya vritti pravaha. God, 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 God. Suddenly saw dog. Okay. God displaced by what? Dog. Can God ever be displaced? Yes, if it is an object. No, if it is your awareness itself. It is that unbridled, flowing awareness which accommodates God in the form of what you see in temples, which accommodates dog, which accommodates bird, cat, everything. Yet, which transcends all of these, which brings to light whatever you see, and yet which is not an object in itself. This is the Shastra's definition of Bhagavan. One with Bhagavan means always one with that awareness whose nature is that of lighting everything up. So even when something unpleasant is lit up, that's how I can accept it as Bhagavan. Pleasant is lit up, Bhagavan. Unpleasant lit up, Bhagavan. I learn to take it and go with the flow. That flow is the unending, without a beginning, Chit awareness, which I understand as I know. I know what? That I am. And this kind of a knowing never turns into I don't know. Oh, but I don't know Chinese language. But you know that you don't know, correct? I know that I don't know. That means what? You know. That's how one can say, I am Sarvagnya. Sarvam janati iti Sarvagnya. The one who is the knower of everything is Sarvagnya. What is everything? It's a combination of what I know and what I don't know. There are many things I know, and there are many things I do not know. What I know plus what I do not know constitute all. Do you know what you know? Yes. Do you know that there are many things you don't know? Yes. That means you are Sarvagya. All-knowing. You are not Sarvavit. That is a kind of a upadhi-based difference. Sarvavit means knowing everything in particular. Here it's a general, ontological knowing. It's not a knowing of one or two subject matters. It is an ontological knowingness. So the first word says, Ishvara is you, because Ishvara is a being. You are a being. And that being is the source of everything that is. Everything that bees is connected to is the result of this being alone. And the second verse says, Ishvara is awareness. Being, what kind of a being? Conscious being. In other words, consciousness. This is what Bhagavan is. Next one we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.